Roman statesman Mark. If you look at a black person today, if a black person today that's dark skinned marries a white woman, has a child like Blake Griffin, and then Blake Griffin is so he can be an Edomite or Ishmaelite, he marries another daughter of Japhet and has a child, and the child looks more white. Same thing of how the Edomites could have looked white in those days, but they still had the bloodline ties of Esau, the black man, their ancestral father. But because of mixing with the Greeks and Romans, then you can dilute in 2 generations, even 3 generations. Another generation, if this son right here is to marry another white girl, then their children will look white. So this is why you can see some white people that have E1B1A. Some white people can have E1B1A. You can just look it up. Some white people have done a DNA test, they say, I came back E1B1A. What does that mean? That means that somebody, their great-great-grandfather was a black man. You know? Oh, yeah. So there's something we need to understand. But then when you look at Esau's transformation, the Edomites eventually came into Israel around the time of the Gentile Greek Maccabean dynasty leader John Hyrcanus I. Taking over temples, the Maccabees came over, they taken over temples, commerce, and they converted the Edomites to Judaism. They made them circumcised. And he said, from this day forward, you guys are known as Jews. You can leave your area because the Tibetan people below you are causing a lot of issues. Come on up to the land of Judah and Simeon, and as long as you convert to Judaism and circumcised, then you guys are known as Jews. So this is where the Edomites started to mingle with the Greek Maccabean people. Now, when you look at it, the book of Maccabees is written in what language?
Greek.
Greek. It's not written in Hebrew. You can't find the book of Maccabees written anywhere in Hebrew. Who wrote the book of Maccabees? Was it an Israelite? Do we know the name of the person who wrote the book of Maccabees?
No.
No? Does he make himself known who he is? No, he doesn't. So when you look at the book of Maccabees, a lot of Jews today will say, this was fulfilled. Throughout 28:16, it was fulfilled already. When it says, the Lord shall bring thee Egypt again with ships, and there you shall be sold into your enemies by bondmen and by women. You cannot, now this is the key thing, you cannot go into Egypt if you're already in Egypt. So we had Greek converted Jews that were living in Egypt, because remember Alexander the Great, he conquered Egypt. And Cleopatra, and then he conquered Israel. So you had Greeks that were following the law of Moses and the law of God. They were known as Jews. They were living in Egypt, they were living in Israel. When these people, if you look at Maccabees, it says, Shedia is a city in Egypt. When these people, meaning the Greek Jews, had been brought to the place called Shedia in Egypt, and the voyage was concluded as a king had decreed, he commanded that they should be enclosed in the Hippodrome, which is a stadium that had been built with a monstrous perimeter wall in front of the city, and that was well suited to make them an obvious spectacle to all coming back into the city, and to those from the city going out to the country, so that they could neither communicate with the king's forces nor in any way claim to be inside the circuit of the city. So the Jews were imprisoned in this Colosseum stadium in Egypt because they were going to kill them. And so you see here, if you look at if you research, you'll see in sailing up the river from Shedia to Memphis, on the right hand are great many villages. So we know Memphis was in Egypt. Okay, it says here, Apis is maintained at Memphis, and Meneas and Heliopolis. These animals are brought to the God. So you'll see here that it says, they sail by this canal to Shedia. This is 3rd Maccabees. Canal going towards Shedia. Shedia is distant 4 skuni from Alexandria. Alexandria is a city in Egypt. The synagogue, did the Israelites in the Old Testament, did they go to synagogues?
No.
No, they didn't. No. The word synagogue is not in the Old Testament. So this is the Shedia synagogue, the oldest known inscription dating back to the time of the Maccabees, during the time where the kings of the Greeks ruled, 240 BC. The oldest known inscription of the Jews, the Greek Jews in Egypt, was written in Greek. This is a Greek synagogue inscription on limestone. The word prosecute means house of prayer in Greek. So if you're a real Israelite, why are you writing on the walls in Greek? Shouldn't you be writing in Hebrew? Yeah. That's the tongue of your father. Even Christ spoke in Hebrew. Here we see Shedia, and they got on canals, and they brought them up to Alexandria to try to kill them off in these stadiums. Here's Syria. You have the Nile River that branches off and it gets to like right here and it goes to the Mediterranean Sea. So they took a canal from Syria and all the way to Alexandria. Here we see again, Alexandria's synagogue. To God the highest, the sacred precinct, and the synagogue is apparatensis. It's also written in Greek. Why is it written in Greek? This is 200 BC. What are the Hebrews doing writing Greek? Shouldn't they be writing Hebrew? That's their mother tongue. That's their mother tongue. All right, we go to Philo of Alexandria. Now we're at 38 AD. During the time of Herod the Great, Herod Antipas, the Maccabees have been well living amongst the Egyptians and the people in Israel, but this is on papyrus now. This is in Greek. They had many Alexandrian synagogues. Synagogues began in Alexandria around 262 BC. They still had some in 38 AD. From 10 kings or more who reigned in order for 300 years, 262 BC, never once did one king have an image or statue of themselves erected in any one of our many synagogues in each district of the cities in Egypt. These are the Greek Jews. They wrote in Greek on papyrus. They're not using Hebrew because they're converts. The Maccabean people were converts to Judaism. They weren't really Israelites. Now, if you look at 3rd Maccabees, King Ptolemy Philopator to the generals throughout Egypt, they tried to kill these Maccabean Greek Jews. And here goes, you see the coins right here. They were Greeks. They were white people. Here we see also 3rd Maccabees 7. The Maccabees is all about Gentile Greeks who converted to Judaism living in Egypt and Israel. We have ordered them all to return. So when they tried to kill them all off with elephants, anybody read the book of 3rd Maccabees? Know what the story about the elephants? So when they tried to kill all the Greek Maccabean Jews, they said, you know what, forget it. You guys can just go back to where you came from. So we have ordered them all to return, each and every one, to their homes. And it says at the bottom here, for well. He says, and what does it say? It says, we won't have a human being as our enemy, but rather the Most High God, who is the Lord over every power. It is He who will enforce the punishment for our actions in every way. And from Him there is no escape. Farewell. So the Jews returned home from Syria back to another place called Ptolemais. The Jews arrived at Ptolemais, named Old Bearing, because of the distinctive feature of the place where the fleet waited for them 7 days. When they had reached their land in peace, there too, in like manner, were appropriate expressions of thanks. They decided to observe these days as a festival for as long as they lived in Egypt. This is a picture of the hippodrome or stadium that they tried multiple times, the Greek king, to kill the Greek Maccabean Jews that converted to Judaism. And they sent them from Alexandria, past Syria, all the way down to their homeland, which is Ptolemais, right here, right there. So today, the people that say that they are the Jews that lived during the time of the 1st century AD and 1st century BC, around that time, they say that they are the Romanite Jews. They say they're Romanite Jews. They call it Romanite because during that time the Romans also ruled. Their DNA is Y-DNA-G, which can be seen in Italy, can be seen in Greece. We went over this yesterday. And also the DNA of the Edomite fluid is E1B1B. And their DNA also has a DNA of J2 from the Central Asian white Arabs. The maternal DNA is all European. It's not African at all. Nothing about their DNA is African. And we know that the majority of the Hebrews in the Old Testament, they mixed with the sons of Ham. Cush, Canaan, Mitzrayim, Egypt. So how come the black Jews and Israelites in West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, they don't speak or write Greek? How come it's not inside their mother tongue, their dialect? Because the Swahili language is 50% Bantus, a little bit of Arabic, maybe a little bit of Roman. Everybody knows this. But nowhere will you see the Bantus people that have Greek elements infused into their mother tongue. Nowhere. Because they was long gone. They were the real Israelites that were really long gone, scattered into Africa. So, they are the true Israelites that will go into captivity by way of ships. The Sukuma tribe, Tanzania. And anybody know about Zanzibar? Zanzibar Island? That's off the coast of Tanzania. The East African slave trade happened there as well. And they got ships to Iraq, Basra, different areas. So when you look at, a lot of Jews will say, well, Joseph Flavor, he can prove that the Jews went on ships. And you guys are just talking all this nonsense. Because they go to War of the Jews, book 6, chapter 9, by Joseph Flavius. But it says here, it says, as for the rest of the multitude that there were above 17 years old, he put them in bonds, like enslaved them, and sent them to Egyptian mines. Doesn't say ships, which is only Titus also sent a great number into the provinces as a present to them, that they might be destroyed upon their theaters meaning stadiums or hippodromes, by the sword and by the beast. So they would just put them in these stadiums and they would just send out beasts to try to kill them. That's like the gladiator days. But those that were under 17 years old were sold for slaves. Now the number of those that were carried captive during this whole war was collected to be 97,000. 97,000 so-called Jews were sent to Egypt. They'll say that, oh, these are 97,000 white Jews that were sent to Egypt to be slaves, thus fulfilling Deuteronomy 28:68. But when you look at today, 97,000 is a lot of people. 97,000 is a lot of people. You look at today, a cruise ship, average cruise ship today, Carnival cruise ship can house about 2,000 people. Comfortably, 2,000. Maybe 2,500. But this is a cruise ship. Remember, back in those days, they didn't have cruise ships. They didn't have no cruise ships back in those days. You look at an airplane is not even the size of a cruise ship. The Statue of Liberty, a typical 8-car Chicago transit train, all these lined up does not equal the length of a cruise ship. And a cruise ship can hold 2,000 people. But there were 97,000 Jews that they say were sent on ships from Israel to Egypt. When you can just walk from Israel to Egypt. Why would they go through all that labor? They didn't have engines and everything else, steam power. They just had oars. So you look at even the slave ship. The slave ships were only 100 foot long. In 1788, they could only hold 454 slaves. So how did the Romans transport 97,000 Jews into Egypt, even if the ships were able to carry about 500 slaves? Did they have a fleet of 50 cruise ships? The answer is no. Because the coast of the Mediterranean Sea of Israel is about 613,000 feet. If the Romans had 50,000 cruise ships lined up front to back to transport 97,000 Jews to Egypt by way of ships, they would stretch along the coast of Israel for 10 miles. 10 miles. How would the ship move if they had a cruise ship? They didn't have no engines, they didn't have no steam power.